When you gaze up at the night sky, you see a universe of countless stars, each a sun, many with planets of their own. It's a cosmic perspective that, well, kinda dwarfs our human endeavors. Yet here on this one small world, nestled among the colossal peaks of the Andes, a civilization arose that mirrored the grandeur of the cosmos itself. They looked to the same sun, the same moon, the same stellar patterns, and from them, they drew inspiration to build an empire of staggering complexity and scale. We're talking about the Inca, a name that, evokes images of goldstone cities in the clouds and a lost world. But these are just the headlines, the popular postcards of history. Everyone knows about the mighty Inca Empire, but who were the actual people behind its rise and fall? Who were the individuals whose hands quarried the stones, whose minds conceived of the roads, whose backs carried the empire forward? Today, we're peeling back the layers of myth and legend, moving beyond the monoliths and monuments to find the human heart of this civilization. We're going on a journey to explore the very fabric of their society, to understand the universe as they saw it. From emperors and warriors to farmers and engineers, get ready to meet the people who built one of the greatest empires in human history. The story of the Inca is not just a tale of emperors and armies. It's a story written in the very landscape they inhabited. It's a narrative of human ingenuity, of a society that learned to thrive in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. They didn't just survive the Andes, they mastered them, turning sheer cliffs into terraced gardens and connecting a vast, rugged territory with an intricate network of roads that rivaled those of Rome. Their achievements are a testament to what we, as a species, are capable of when we unite under a common purpose and vision. So, let's set our cosmic coordinates for the Andes Mountains of South America. Our exploration will be a deep dive, a forensic investigation into the past. We'll look at the evidence left behind, not just the glorious ruins, but the subtle clues in their pottery, the stories woven into their textiles, and the genetic legacy that lives on in the millions of Quechua-speaking people today. This isn't just history, it's an exercise in cosmic archaeology, connecting the dots across time to reveal a holistic picture of a people who, for a brilliant moment, created a world all their own. We're not just looking at what they built, but asking who they were, how they thought, and what their story can teach us about our own place in the universe. Every great story needs a beginning. For the Inca, that origin is born from the sacred waters of Lake Titicaca. The sun god Inti sends his children, Manco Capac and Mama Oclo, to Earth. Their mission, find a place where a golden staff would sink into the ground, and there, found a city. This is a foundational myth that legitimizes the Inca's rule, connecting them to the sun. The journey across the Altiplano is a metaphor for the migration of a people. When the staff sinks into the Cusco Valley, it consecrates the ground as the center of their universe. Archaeology provides the physical data. We see evidence of various small competing tribes inhabiting the region for centuries. These were the Quilque people, predecessors to the Inca. How do we reconcile these two narratives, the mythic and the material? We view them as two sides of the same coin. The legend of Manco Capac likely represents a real chieftain who led the Incas into the Cusco Valley. The divine mission was a political tool used to unite tribes under a single banner. This transformed a small clan into the seeds of a future empire. The Cusco Valley offered fertile soil and a defensible position. The early history is a blend of myth and verifiable events and the slow consolidation of power. They were laying the groundwork for future expansion. This period was about creating a distinct Inca identity, establishing Cusco as a sacred capital. The rougher stonework slowly gives way to refined masonry. Each fitted block is a testament to a society becoming more ordered. Chronicles speak of early rulers as warrior kings. They were leaders adept with a war club and a peace treaty. For centuries, the Inca were a local power. That changed in the early 15th century, an invasion by the Chancas. This was the ultimate test. The reigning Sapa Inca fled the city. But a prince named Kusi Yupanqui refused to retreat. Kusi Yupanqui crushed the Chanca army. It was a stunning victory. Kusi Yupanqui usurped the throne, renaming himself Pachacuti. His victory initiated a revolution, transforming the Inca into an expansionist empire. The Chanca War was the big bang of the Inca Empire. Pachacuti harnessed its momentum to launch an era of conquest and reorganization. He initiated massive construction projects, including the road system and sites like Machu Picchu. The man who saved the Inca became the architect of their imperial greatness. At the absolute apex of the Inca world, occupying a position that was simultaneously political, religious, and cosmic, stood the Sapa Inca, This wasn't merely a king or an emperor in the European sense. He was the unique Inca, the living son of the sun god Inti, a divine being walking the earth. His authority wasn't just granted by the people, it was believed to be an extension of the cosmic order itself. His bloodline was a sacred conduit, linking the celestial plane of the gods with the terrestrial world of mortals. To disobey the Sapa Inca was not just treason, it was blasphemy, an act against the natural order of the universe. The Sapa Inca's divinity permeated every aspect of his life, which was governed by elaborate ritual. He was carried everywhere on a golden litter, his feet never touching the common ground. Everything he touched, the clothes he wore, the plates he ate from, was considered sacred and was collected and burned at the end of the day to prevent anyone from using it for malevolent magic. He drank from golden goblets and wore a special headdress, the mascapecha, a fringe of red wool with tassels that signified his supreme authority. His primary wife, the Koya, was often his full sister, a practice designed to keep the divine bloodline absolutely pure and unadulterated. This divine status was the ultimate source of his power, the ideological glue that held the vast and diverse empire together. From the coastal deserts to the high Andes to the fringes of the Amazon, all lands and all peoples were ultimately his property. The gold and silver mined from the mountains were not currency, but sacred materials, the sweat of the sun and the tears of the moon, belonging exclusively to him and the gods. He was the state personified. His commands were law, his judgments were final, and his vision dictated the course of millions of lives, from the grandest military campaigns to the annual agricultural calendar. Yet, for all his divinity, the Sapa Inca was also the chief executive of a complex and demanding state. He was the commander-in-chief of the army, the supreme judge, and the head of the administration. He would spend months traveling his empire, overseeing projects, dispensing justice, and ensuring the smooth operation of the intricate imperial machine. It was a dual role of immense pressure, to be both a god on earth and a pragmatic, hands-on ruler. This combination of divine mystique and effective governance was the secret to the Sapa Inca's absolute control over one of history's most impressive empires. If Manco Capac was the legendary founder, then Pachacuti, the ninth Sapa Inca, was the empire's true architect. Ascending to power around 1438, after his legendary defense of Cusco against the Chancas, he didn't just expand the empire, he fundamentally remade it. He was the Inca equivalent of Alexander the Great and Augustus Caesar rolled into one, a brilliant military strategist and a visionary state builder. He inherited a kingdom and bequeathed an empire, transforming a local lordship into a continent-spanning power known as the Tawantinsuyu, or the Four Parts Together. Pachacuti's military campaigns were relentless and brilliantly executed. He and his generals pushed the empire's borders out in every direction. They conquered the powerful Chimu kingdom on the northern coast, absorbing their masterful metalworking and irrigation techniques. They subjugated the peoples of the Titicaca Basin, securing the Inca's mythical homeland. But his genius lay not just in conquest, but in consolidation. Conquered peoples weren't simply crushed, they were systematically integrated into the empire. He established the policy of moving loyal Inca colonists, Mitmac, into newly conquered regions and relocating restive populations to the Inca heartland, a vast social engineering project to ensure stability. Beyond the battlefield, Pachacuti's reforms were even more profound. He was a master of organization. He is credited with devising the hierarchical administrative system that divided the empire into 4 quarters, each ruled by a governor who reported directly to him. He mandated the use of Quechua as the official language of the state and established schools in Cusco to train the sons of conquered nobles in the Inca way of life, effectively turning potential enemies into loyal administrators. This was a key strategy, co-opting local elites to govern on the Inca's behalf, making imperial rule more efficient and palatable. Perhaps his most visible legacy is etched in stone. Pachacuti initiated an imperial building program on a scale never before seen in the Americas. He rebuilt Cusco as a magnificent capital, its stone palaces and temples reflecting the empire's power. He commissioned the construction of the Coricancha, the Temple of the Sun, covering its walls in sheets of gold. He ordered the development of royal estates and ceremonial centers, including the breathtaking citadel of Machu Picchu. Pachacuti didn't just shake the earth with his armies. He reshaped it with his architects and engineers, leaving behind monuments that continue to defy our understanding and inspire awe. The momentum generated by Pachacuti was so immense that it carried the empire forward for 2 more generations of extraordinary rulers. His son, Tupac Inca Yupanqui, who came to power around 1471, was every bit his father's equal as a military commander. While Pachacuti was the architect, Tupac Inca was the master builder, expanding the empire to its greatest geographical extent. He was a conqueror of truly epic proportions, a man whose ambition knew no terrestrial bounds. He led campaigns south, deep into modern-day Chile and Argentina, and north into Ecuador and Colombia, adding vast new territories and millions of new subjects to the Tawantinsuyu. Tupac Inca Yupanqui was more than just a conqueror. He was also an explorer. One of the most fascinating and debated accounts from the chronicles suggests that he mounted a massive seaborne expedition. Gathering a fleet of balsa wood rafts, he is said to have sailed west into the Pacific Ocean for nearly a year, an undertaking of incredible audacity. According to the tale, he discovered 2 islands, which some historians have speculated could have been the Galapagos Islands or even Easter Island. While physical proof remains elusive, the story itself speaks volumes about the boundless confidence and curiosity that characterized the Inca leadership at its zenith. Following Tupac Inca, his son Huayna Capac ascended the throne around 1493. His reign marked the consolidation and peak of the empire. He spent much of his time in the north, in what is now Ecuador, suppressing rebellions and solidifying Inca control over the empire's most distant frontiers. He established a second capital at Tumabamba, a sign of the empire's growing size and the increasing importance of its northern territories. Under Huayna Capac, the Inca Empire was a mature, stable, and incredibly wealthy state, connected by a superb road system and administered by a deeply entrenched bureaucracy. From the outside, it must have seemed eternal, unassailable. But a cosmic storm was gathering on the horizon, one that no Inca priest could have predicted. While campaigning in the north around 1527, Huayna Capac and his designated heir suddenly died from a mysterious disease, likely smallpox, which had traveled south from the Caribbean far ahead of the Spanish themselves. His sudden death created a power vacuum and a catastrophic succession crisis. 2 of his other sons, Huáscar and Atahualpa, both laid claim to the throne, plunging the seemingly invincible empire into a devastating civil war. At the very moment of its greatest strength, the empire was tearing itself apart from within, just as the first European ships were appearing on its shores. Consider the Andes Mountains, one of the most rugged and unforgiving landscapes on Earth. Building an empire here required genius, a profound understanding of physics, geology, and hydrology. Their legacy is written in stone, etched into the mountains. They achieved monumental feats without iron, steel, or even a written language. It was a combination of manpower, meticulous planning, and intimate knowledge of their materials. They understood the properties of stone, creating structures of supernatural precision. Colossal stones, fitted so perfectly without mortar, you can't slip a sheet of paper between them. This ashlar masonry created remarkably resilient structures in an earthquake-prone land. A brilliant passive earthquake dampening system. This speaks to their engineering prowess, social organization, and unwavering vision. The Capac Nan, or Royal Road, was the circulatory system of the empire. Spanning over 25,000 miles, it was more extensive than the Roman road system. It was a sophisticated, engineered highway designed for efficiency and durability. They carved stairways, built retaining walls, and constructed causeways. It was built for messengers and llama caravans, the lifeblood of imperial communication and trade. Their mastery of the suspension bridge was awe-inspiring, a perfect application of local resources to solve a seemingly insurmountable problem. Each community maintained the road and bridges in their territory. It was a living artery, pulsing with the energy of an interconnected empire. Their solution was a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering, canals, aqueducts, and terraces. The agricultural terraces were sophisticated, multi-layered constructions, a brilliant passive solar heating system combined with a geological water filter. Not a single precious drop was wasted. At Tipon, these waterworks have functioned perfectly for over 500 years. They integrated the flow of water with the flow of cosmic energy. Science and spirituality flowed from the same source. The Inca Empire was built upon a single foundation, the common person. The engine of the empire was the collective labor of millions. The basic unit of society was the Ailu, a community of families working a specific portion of land together, sharing resources and labor. Life within the Alu was governed by Aini, reciprocal labor. This created a powerful social safety net. Land was divided into three parts: for the state, the religion, and the Alu. This system fueled the vast machinery of the empire. Picture the millions of commoners working together. The Inca mastered the vertical landscape, creating a resilient and varied diet. This is one of the most brilliant adaptations in the history of agriculture. It was a portfolio of agricultural assets, diversified across a vertical axis. This vertical integration was the key to their food security. The state could redistribute food, fulfilling its role as the guarantor of the people's well-being. The Inca had no currency. So how did the state collect taxes? The answer is the maita. The maita was a mandatory public service system, a labor tax. It was a tax paid in time and energy. It allowed the Inca to accomplish feats of engineering and logistics that would be unthinkable otherwise. The original Inca concept, a tax of time for the collective good, was perverted into a system of exploitation by the Spanish. For the Inca, the universe was not a cold, empty void governed by impersonal laws. It was a vibrant, living entity, pulsating with sacred energies. The cosmos was populated by powerful deities, or huacas, that resided in the sun, the moon, the mountains, the rivers, and even in man-made objects. Religion wasn't a separate part of life, it was life. It informed every aspect of their existence, from planting crops to waging war to building a home. And at the center of this sacred cosmos, mediating between the human world and the divine, was a powerful and complex religious hierarchy. At the absolute apex of this hierarchy was the Sapa Inca himself. He wasn't just a king, he was considered a living god, a direct descendant of Inti, the sun god. His divine status gave him ultimate authority in both the temporal and spiritual realms. Just below him was the most powerful religious figure in the empire, the Wilak Umu, or the High Priest of the Sun. Typically a close relative of the Sapa Inca, often his brother, the Wilak Umu presided over the state cult of the sun, which was the most important religious institution in the empire. He was the chief astronomer, the main advisor to the king, and the head of a vast network of priests and priestesses. Beneath the Wilak Umu was a stratified priesthood. There were the high priests of other major cults, like those dedicated to the creator god Viracocha or the thunder god Ilapa. Then came the legions of lesser priests assigned to specific temples and shrines throughout the empire. These individuals were responsible for the daily rituals, the interpretation of omens, and the offering of sacrifices. There were also diviners who specialized in reading coca leaves or the entrails of sacrificed animals to predict the future. And there were the confessors who would hear the sins of the common people and prescribe penances to restore spiritual balance. This religious structure was a mirror of the political structure of the empire. It was hierarchical, centralized, and deeply integrated with the state. The priesthood was supported by the land set aside for the sun, and their role was to reinforce the divine legitimacy of the Sapa Inca and the cosmic order that placed the Inca at the center of the universe. They were the spiritual bureaucrats, the cosmic administrators, tasked with maintaining the delicate balance between the human world and the powerful, often unpredictable forces of the sacred realm. Their influence was immense, their role absolutely critical to the functioning of the Inca world. The relationship between the Inca and their gods was not one of quiet contemplation. It was an active, constant, and demanding conversation, a transactional relationship that required continuous maintenance through ritual and sacrifice. The universe, in their view, operated on a principle of sacred reciprocity. If humans took from the earth to grow food, they had to give something back to the earth and the gods to maintain balance. These offerings could range from simple gifts of chicha, which is corn beer, and coca leaves poured onto the ground, to the most significant offerings of all, animal, and, on the rarest and most important occasions, human life. Daily life was punctuated by rituals. Before drinking, an Inca would sprinkle a few drops of chicha on the ground for the Pachamama, Mother Earth. Before embarking on a journey, they would make an offering at a local huaca, or sacred place, which could be a distinctively shaped rock, a cave, or a spring. The religious calendar was packed with elaborate state-sponsored festivals tied to the agricultural cycle and astronomical events like the solstices and equinoxes. These festivals, like the Inti Raymi, great empires often have grand monuments and divine rulers. But at the heart of any expanding power, from the Roman legions to the Mongol hordes, lies a formidable military machine. The Inca Empire was no different. Its ability to project power across the Andes rested on its soldiers. This was a highly organized, disciplined, and logistically sophisticated force. An army born from their society, fueled by a mandate to bring order. The foundation was the system, mandatory public service. Every man from 25 to 50 was subject to a military draft. The same hands that tilled the soil wielded the mace and sling in battle. The army mirrored Inca society's decimal-based organization. Units were organized in powers of 10, up to generals commanding thousands. This allowed for incredible command and control on the battlefield. A system built for scale, allowing them to field massive forces. Rank-and-file soldiers were drawn from all corners of the empire. The Inca harnessed these identities, fostering local pride. Their primary long-range weapon was the sling. A skilled user could launch stones with terrifying velocity. The iconic weapon was the star-headed mace. The true genius lay in tactical flexibility and mastery of logistics. They used storehouses to keep their army supplied indefinitely. The Inca road system was the nervous system of their military. The Andes were not an obstacle, but a fortress. Conquest was a political and cultural process. Before crossing borders, they engaged in diplomacy, offering to join the empire. If refused, they demonstrated military might. Even in victory, their strategy was integration, not annihilation. They implemented forced resettlement to solidify control. The goal, to transform rivals into loyal subjects of a unified empire. Every great structure, whether it's a star, a galaxy, or a civilization, contains the seeds of its own destruction. For the Inca Empire, this internal unraveling began with a crisis of succession. When the Sapa Inca Huayna Capac succumbed to a mysterious illness, likely smallpox, he left behind two sons, Huáscar and Atahualpa, vying for power. This schism threatened to tear the very fabric of the Tawantinsuyu apart. It was a classic tale of brother against brother, played out on a continental stage. The empire was now in danger of collapsing into a black hole of its own making. Atahualpa ultimately gained the upper hand, capturing his brother Huáscar and securing his claim. But this victory was a Pyrrhic one, leaving the empire exhausted and divided. The Inca cosmos was wounded, leaving it vulnerable to external forces. Just as Atahualpa stood at the precipice of consolidating his power, Francisco Pizarro and his conquistadors arrived. Driven by motivations of gold, glory, and God, they arrived at a moment of profound weakness. The stage was set for a collision of worlds, a confrontation that would be decided by technology, disease, and a fundamental misunderstanding. The encounter at Cajamarca was less a battle and more a catastrophic ambush. Atahualpa, the divine emperor, was captured. Atahualpa offered to fill a room with gold and silver in exchange for his freedom. After the ransom was collected, Atahualpa was publicly executed. The Spanish conquest was also an epidemiological one. Diseases decimated communities, killing leaders, and sowing chaos. Even in the face of collapse, the Inca spirit did not vanish. For decades, the Neo-Inca state held out in Vilcabamba. The resistance became a foundational part of the enduring Inca legacy. The most visible legacy is etched into the very mountains of the Andes. These are silent, powerful testaments to Inca genius. The Quechua language is spoken today by millions of people. It is a vibrant, living vessel of culture. Many of the agricultural practices persist. The Inca legacy is woven into the very fabric of modern Andean identity. The story of the Inca is a profound story of survival, adaptation, and the enduring power of a people's soul. Their cosmos was shattered, but its constituent parts reformed, creating new constellations of culture that continue to shine brightly in the Andean world today. Embarking on an expedition to witness the Inca legacy requires careful planning. The Andean climate has a dry and wet season. The optimal time to visit is during the dry season, from April to October, for clearer skies. In Peru, the local currency is the sol. Cash is essential, especially in smaller towns. A reasonable daily budget might be around $50 to $70. Cusco is your primary objective. Cusco sits at a high altitude. Acclimatize by taking it easy for the first day or two, drinking water and sipping coca tea. Colectivos, shared vans, are the most economical option. For Aguas Calientes, the train is your primary transport. Explore sites near Cusco, like Sacsayhuaman. The scale of the stone walls here is staggering. Visit Kenco, Pucapucara, and Tambomachay. Pisac features stunning agricultural terraces. Further into the valley lies Ollantaytambo, one of the best preserved Inca towns. To truly appreciate the sacred valley, give it time. And now, for the main event, Machu Picchu. There are two ways to approach this sacred citadel. the trekker's path or the traveler's path. For the adventurous, the classic Inca Trail is a multi-day pilgrimage. There are excellent alternative treks, like the Salcante Trek. For those who prefer a less physically demanding approach, the train is your chariot to the stars. Book your train tickets and Machu Picchu entrance ticket well in advance. Hire a guide to explain the different sectors of the site, or simply wander and let your own curiosity guide you. So, as our journey through the world of the Inca comes to a close, what have we learned? We've seen that the Inca Empire was far more than a collection of magnificent ruins and legends of gold. It was a universe built by real people. It was the vision of the Sapa Incas, the divine emperors who saw themselves as children of the sun. It was the genius of the anonymous engineers and architects who sculpted mountains and channeled rivers with a precision that still defies easy explanation. It was the tireless labor of the farmers and commoners, the backbone of the empire, whose collective effort fed millions and built a civilization from the ground up, all bound by a cosmic principle of reciprocity. The Inca cosmos was a complex system, a delicate dance of power and faith, of conquest and culture. It was the chants of the priests echoing in stone temples, honoring the sun, the moon, and the mountains. It was the strategic brilliance of the generals who expanded the empire to the four corners of their known world, and ultimately, it was